Getting ready to get started. We got Pastor Sawyer still out another week. Shout out baby Luca. Woo! All right, but don't worry, guys, because we got a great guest for you. One of our pastors over here at Crossroads, the GOAT, Zach Williams.
Oh my gosh. Man, who is excited to have baby Luca in the room next week? I know I am. Well, if we haven't met, my name is Zach. I get to serve here as one of the online pastors, or the online pastor. And I'm super excited tonight because you guys have been in a series, a collection of talks called The Fruit of the Spirit. Someone say fruit. Another person say spirit. Well, I don't know each of you, but I do know something about all of you. I haven't met a lot of you. I've seen a lot of you guys in this church for quite some time, but I had the opportunity to know something about all of you. And this is the thing that I know about every single one of you. Things get in your way. There are people that get in your way. Who drives in here? You've had the experience at this point in your driving career that people get in the way. Perhaps you've driven on the 91 freeway, you're stuck in traffic, and people get in your way. Or perhaps you have some friendships that feel like are getting in your way. I know for me, I've had people get in my way. The next thing I've had get my way, I've had plans get in my way. Who's on summer break right now? Most of you guys are on summer break. If not, you're in summer school. I'm sorry. But who has ever had plans interfere with one another? I know I have. Perhaps on summer break right now, you've had friends that are hitting you up, and you're like, wait, I'm conflicted. I have too many plans to choose from. I'm gonna ditch this friend and go with the better one that has better plans for me because that plan's getting in my way. At the dinner table in my family, we don't have phones at the table. We don't try to have phones at the table. Why? Because phones get in the way of family time. Who has family dinners every night? Have your parents ever said, hey, it's rude of you to have your phone at the table? Well, chances are because the phones get in the way of having family time. Another thing that gets in my way, perhaps your way, is procrastination. Maybe you've had so many things on your plate to do, so many assignments when you're in school or you're expecting something to happen and you're just sitting there starstruck or in idle. You're like, man, I got so much to do right now. I don't know what to do, so I'm going to do nothing. And so procrastination gets in your way. A lot of you guys are in high school, you're in high school, but you are trying to figure out a vision and a goal for your life. Who's ever thought at this point so far what you want to be when you grow up? Are we not thinking about that or what? I know I was thinking about that when I was like 7 years old. I was like, what am I going to be when I grow up? But there are things as you get older that get in your way. Who's planning to go to college? Who's planning to get a job after high school? Who's planning to get a job next year in high school? Great. Well, a lot of you guys have a vision and a goal for your life. You guys want to go to a college, perhaps an Ivy League college, maybe UCLA, USC, or community college like me. But here's a thing that gets in your way is your GPA. Your GPA could get in your way. Maybe you're planning to apply to one of these schools and you're like, man, I'm at like a 3.0, but I need to get to a 3.5 just to qualify. And so you're planning to study really hard next year so your GPA is no longer in the way. Or perhaps you've met a person during summer and you're interested in getting to talk to them. But when you try to build up the courage to approach this person, fear gets in the way. Or maybe you get so nervous to send that text and you decide not to because like, I don't know, I got that butterfly feeling in my stomach and fear gets in the way. Or perhaps God has called you to do something. Maybe he's put a call on ministry on your life. Maybe he's put a call to go to nursing school or become a doctor, or you want to become a firefighter, a police officer, or maybe you want to be the thing that your dad or that your mom is, or a relative or a close friend, but a lack of faith is preventing you to believe it. We all have things that get in our way. And there are things that get in the way of our relationship with God. So tonight, I want to help you remove some of these things that get in the way of your relationship with God. And just imagine with me for a moment, what would your life be like if people, places, and things, and fear, and a lack of faith was no longer an obstacle to do the very thing God has called you to do. Imagine a life of freedom, a life that you don't have to worry about the things that you used to worry about no longer have a hold on your life. Fear could no longer have a hold on your life. Chances are you would have a great life. You would be able to walk in freedom and confidence in who God has called you to be. There was a story that I would like to tell you about a husband and a wife. This husband and wife, they were a couple who has been married for quite some time. And they belong to a community. They belong to a neighborhood. Here in Corona, we have neighborhoods all around. And so when I'm speaking of this story, I want you guys to just picture the neighborhood that you live in. This husband and wife were in a community very similar to the communities that we live in. But something unique about this community is that everyone in this community shared their resources, their food, their water, their clothing, their toys, and everything that they owned, they would share as a community. Like, it would be awkward not to share anything in this community. And so if you existed in this community, the expectation is that you would share everything. And so every single need would be met in this community. And so this neighborhood was called the church. It was called the church. The early church used to gather in homes in neighborhoods very similar, but yet kind of different from ours. But this couple held on to something. They held on to something that would benefit the church that they lived in. And see, this couple at the time, they sold a piece of property. And when you sell property, usually you get a pretty good chunk of change. And so imagine the house or apartment or condo or living space that you live in, your parents sold it, you would get a pretty good chunk of change. See, if we sold this property here at Crossroads, we would get a good chunk of change. But here's the thing that this couple did. See, the expectation, if they were to sell a piece of property, they would have to bring the finances to the church and share it with others. But this couple held on to this piece of wealth. They held on to the thing and made a decision to hold some of the wealth to themselves. And as a result, the church could not benefit from what stood in their way. There are severe consequences if we hold on to the things God has called us to let go of. There are severe consequences if the thing that we are dealing with is in secret, has a hold in our life. In our story, there are severe consequences to what Ananias and Sapphira did, the name of the couple. And so in Acts 5:2, the Apostle Paul gives us some of these details of this couple's situation. It says, "Now a man named Ananias, together with his wife Sapphira, also sold a piece of property. With his wife's full knowledge, he kept back part of the money for himself, but brought the rest and put it at the apostles' feet." Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, well, he probably sold this piece of property, and they probably got $1 million for it. Of course, he should probably keep some of it for himself. Perhaps we would probably do the very same thing. Imagine your parents sold the house. You would be like, "Man, are you really going to give all the money away?" Well, there's implications to what happened in the story. See, it's not just at face value. Yeah, it's no big deal. They sold a piece of property, they kept some of the money, move on with your day. Everybody's happy because they gave some away. There is always something in Scripture that you have to dig in to find it. See, at face value, this seems harmless. It seems very harmless. This is the thing that they dealt with. But often sin hides behind our face. See, we can come to the church and we can put on a smile, but there could be secret things that are beneath the surface. Certainly, there was things beneath the surface for Ananias and Sapphira. The thing about Ananias and Sapphira is that they were posers. They were posers. Growing up, I tried to get into skateboarding, bro. I got all the skating gear. I got a skateboard. I grew my hair out. I looked the part. And so when I decided to go skateboarding, I went up to my mom, and I was like, "Hey, Mom." She was like, "Bro, why do you look like that?" And so I was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm trying to get into skateboarding because everyone else is doing that." She's like, "All right, bro." Like, my mom was super supportive. And so I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to try to go off my first set of stairs." Yeah, oh. And my mom was like, are you sure about this? And I was like, I'm sure about this. And so I was, okay, if I'm going to try this, I want you to stand at the bottom of the stairs in case I fall. That was super embarrassing. And so here I am on the sidewalk. There's a 5 set of stairs. And I begin to go, and the front of my wheels get off the floor, and I tumble and fall on my mom, and I break her thumb. Like, it was terrible. See, the thing about posers is that they look the part, but they can't prove the part. They can't. And so here I was, I looked like a skater, but when push came to shove, I was a poser. See, Ananias and Sapphira were spiritual posers. Like, they loved the idea of God. They loved the benefits of the community called the church, but when push came to shove, they couldn't prove their faith. See, posers quit when asked to prove themselves. So their idol prevented them from being all in for Jesus. Idols block our connection and pose as God in our life. Ananias and Sapphira made the money that they sold their God. See, spiritual posers worship the right God the wrong way. They had affection and love for God. They were worshiping the right God, but they were worshiping the wrong way. Just because you have a Bible verse on your Instagram bio does not mean you practice the spiritual practice it's telling you to practice. Just because you post a Bible verse on your Instagram story doesn't mean it's getting into your heart. See, showing up to church just for the sake of showing up to church doesn't make you a Christian. So what is the agenda that we have when we approach God's place? See, spiritual posers love someone or something other than God himself. Ananias and Sapphira, their idol was wealth. But what's yours? What is the thing that you find yourself thinking about the most? Is it your boyfriend? Is it your girlfriend? Is it your GPA? Is it your significant other? Is it the anxiety that you're feeling? What is the thing that gets into your mind the most? What is the thing that you think about right before you go to sleep? What is the thing that you think about right when you wake up? What is the thing that you grab right when you wake up? What is the last thing that you're holding before you go to sleep? Is it the Bible? Is it a phone? Is it a video game? Or is it something else? What is the thing that is preventing you from setting your mind on God? Because an idol prevents you from setting your mind on God. See, you know you worship an idol if it's anything you can't place on the altar. You worship an idol if it's anything you cannot place on an altar. An altar represents giving something to God. There's going to be a photo of an altar that oftentimes you would see in the Old Testament that prophets would use. And so the prophets would have to go to this altar and put something on there to give it over to God. In our life, in our context, our altar can be anywhere. Oftentimes you'll see an altar be at the bedside when you're pleading for God, God, take this from me, God, help me. An altar can be exactly where you're sitting. It doesn't matter where you are. You can always have the opportunity to give something over to God. The most immature thing a Christian can say and ask a pastor or anyone of spiritual influences, is it a sin? Is it a sin? Is it a sin? I only hit my vape every once in a while, bro. Just to chill, it's cool. Like when I'm in the dugout with my homies. I only put chew in when I'm, playing a baseball game. I only smoke weed like once in a blue moon, like when I'm with the wrong crowd. I haven't been to church in a little while. Like, it's all good. Like, is it a sin? Is it a sin to cross the boundary with my boyfriend or girlfriend, but then, feel some shame and then pray about it, and I feel good for a little while, but then I do it again 3 months later? Like, is that a sin? You know what is a sin? Looking for loopholes in the Bible to ask that question. That's a sin. See, if it's no big deal, and you come up to me and be like, it's no big deal, bro. It's serious. I hit my vape every once in a while. I smoke it every once in a while. We hook up once in a while. It's no big deal. Put it on the altar. Put it on the altar before God. If it's no big deal, prove it. Prove to God that it's no big deal. Could you do that? Could you do that? Could you prove to God it's no big deal? See, if you are flirting with someone just to hook up, that's an idol. That is an idol. Another thing that oftentimes is an idol is deleting an Instagram post because it didn't get enough likes. Why? Because your idol is public approval. It's being liked. Or is posting on Instagram just for enough likes. And then you delete it. That's an idol. Posting on social media, hanging out with the right crowd just to be accepted and liked is an idol. See, Ananias and Sapphira were seeking approval and praise from peers, but cheating on God. And so if you're trying to look a certain way, present yourself a certain way in class, at church, on social media, perhaps the idol is you. Maybe you are worshiping you. And Ananias and Sapphira, their idol was public approval from the people that were around. But here's the thing, bro. Their idol was in secret. They were cheating on God. They were dragging the very thing that they were cheating on God with into the presence of God himself. They dragged their wealth right in front of the idol. They had the opportunity to bring everything before God, lay it on the altar, but what they did, they brought it right against the altar and lied to God. They kept it in their pocket. So how many of us are dragging our own idols into the very presence of God? We come to church, but we continue to hold the vape pen in a backpack. We come to church, but we continue to cross the boundary with our significant other. Like, we can no longer bring an idol right before the altar of God and not put it on the altar. Imagine, I'm not married, but imagine if I was married. And I have a wife, of course, and one day I just had the urge to leave the home when my wife didn't know about it, and I go to my side boo, and I start cuddling, and I make love to her. Then I had the audacity to come home and do the very same thing with my wife. I would be a psycho. I would be a fool. My idol would be a fake type of love. My idol would be a public or affection and love from someone else and not my wife. And see, what idolatry does, it hinders intimacy. Idolatry hinders intimacy, and it holds us back from intimacy. Acts 5:3-4 said, Then Peter said, Ananias, why have you let Satan fill your heart? You lied to the Holy Spirit, and you kept some of the money for yourself. The property was yours to sell or not to sell, as you wished. And after selling it, the money was also yours to give away. See, Ananias and Sapphira were at a proverbial altar, meaning that altar is portable. It doesn't matter where you are. They had the ability to love God wholeheartedly, to love God and come clean with the things that they were dealing with and holding on to, but they failed to give it over to God. Then Luke, he drops a bomb. He calls them a liar. He calls them a liar. He says, how could you do a thing like this? You weren't lying to us. You were lying to God. You were lying to God. Idolatry makes us a liar. Why? Because we're trying to protect the idol more than we're trying to protect our relationship with God. See, I'm all for being a protective boyfriend or a husband or whatever, but if I can't let my girl decide who she should not be friends with, I just started idolizing her. I just started idolizing the relationship. See, real love sets people free. Idolizing people traps them. It restricts them. And Ananias and Sapphira loved their idol more than they loved God. They did. They protected their idol with everything that they had. And as a result, it prevented intimacy. See, Ananias and Sapphira feared losing their idol more than they feared God. Do you fear losing the thing that you're doing in secret more than you fear losing your relationship with God? Idols are designed to destroy you. Idols are designed to destroy you. See, the enemy himself is the one that handcrafted the idol that you are holding in your life. He's the one that created it. This is why we see addiction take place. And it's not always to drugs. It could be to our phones. It could be to social media. That's why we call it a doom scroll, bro. Idolizing people also affects our relationships. If we're smothering the person that we were with, we just made them an idol. This is why we see addiction take place. This is why we see divorce take place. This is why we see violence takes place. Because idolizing people dehumanizes them. Idolizing someone or something causes us to get angry because we're trying to protect the thing that we're holding on to. There needed to be a difference. There needed to be a shift in the mind of Ananias and Sapphira, but they could not get there. They needed to see the gospel as something that frees them from spiritual posing. They couldn't see that. The gospel frees us from the desire from getting attention from other people. The gospel frees us from praise from other people. The gospel frees you and I from worshiping anything or anyone other than God himself. And when we let go of the idol, that is when we become a person of love. That's when we become a person of love. See, Ananias and Sapphira, they did not grab God. They did not grab their love for God with two hands. They had one hand on God and one hand on their idol. That's why they approached the altar like this. They were trying to hold on to the altar of their money, but they were also trying to hold on to the relationship with God. And as a result, God struck them down. You cannot have one hand on your idol and one hand on God. It does not work. Ananias and Sapphira, they were okay with being spiritual posers. They were okay with being a hypocrite. They were okay holding on to that idol in their life. But are you going to be okay being a hypocrite? Are you going to be okay holding on to the idol in your life? Are you satisfied with just being a spiritual poser? I hope we're not. See, Ananias and Sapphira, they had the opportunity to grab Jesus wholeheartedly with two hands, but they didn't. What is the principle? You can't serve two masters. You cannot serve two masters. It will destroy you. It's going to be Jesus or nothing. It's going to be Jesus or nothing. And so you might not even believe in the same thing I believe in. But the principle is, if you love something bigger than yourself, that thing is not, and the thing is called God, it's not going to destroy you. And so you may not even agree with what I'm saying. You may want to continue holding on to the idol in your life. But there is a better way to live. There is a better way to feel like you're no longer hiding, doing things in secret, and feeling shame and conviction for. And that way, and the person that we should be holding on to, is Jesus himself. So what do we get? What do we get from all of this? What should we do with this principle? What should we do with the idea of letting go of our idols? Well, here's the thing. You need to get your idol out of your life. Get rid of your idol's going to get rid of you. You need to get rid of your idol, or your idol will get rid of you. Ananias and Sapphira were struck down by God. And you might say, man, God is a God of wrath. Why would he do that? Well, there's a principle here. that if we love or hold on to anything or anyone other than God himself, it's going to lead from separation from God forever. It's going to lead us into hell. So imagine with me for a moment how free, how happy, how joyful, how loving, how good, and how much more self-control you would have if you let go of the idol in your life and replace it with Jesus. What would happen to your relationships? What would happen to your friendships? What would happen to your experience at church? What would happen with the relationship that you're in? What would you look like in your school? What would you look like in your home, at the dinner table, if you approached every space that you walk into with this deep love for God and you let go of the idol that you're holding on to? What if you dealt with the thing of getting approval from others? What would your life look like if you no longer desired attention from other people, you just desired attention from God himself? Chances are you would be a more loving, a more happy, a more joyful person. Amen. And I guarantee you, then you will have more love in your life. You will have more life in your bones. This series is on fruit of the Spirit. But you cannot have fruit if the idol is covering the soil of your life. Your seed of faith cannot grow if an idol is suppressing it. It will not work. So God may be trying to do something in each and every single one of your life. He might be trying to produce big faith in your life, a vision for the future, a goal that you don't even have yet. He's trying to put that into the soil of your life, but there's a thing covering it. What is that thing? What is that idol that's covering the soil of your life that you need to get rid of? We can't bear fruit in our life if there's an idol covering our life. So tonight, if there is anything else filling your mind, filling your heart, filling your desires, and filling your affection, other than Jesus himself, I'm going to provide an invitation for you to drop it at the altar tonight and grab Jesus with two hands. You will bear fruit in your life when there's space in your life. You will bear more fruit when you clear the idols. You will bear fruit when it's only Jesus' attention that you're seeking. You will bear fruit when all you care about is the attention from God and giving him attention. John 8:36 says, if the Son sets you free, you are free indeed. So I don't know what you walked in here tonight, what you walked in here with. I don't know what you're holding on to. I don't know the thing that is covering the soil of your life. I don't know the thing that you're struggling with. God does, and you do. So I'm going to ask all of you to think right now. You may go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to picture with me in your mind the thing that you've been secret about, the thing that you've been hiding from your friends, from your family, but most importantly, God. And I want you to imagine taking the thing that you've been holding on to. Is it a relationship? Is it public approval? Is it a GPA? Is it the anxiety? Is it a medical diagnosis? Is it your mental health issue? And I want you to picture with me grabbing a hold of that thing in your life and then gently placing it on the altar before God. And taking that open hand and embracing Jesus with both hands. And I want you to imagine God himself saying, I love you. That if you choose my Son, you will experience freedom that you never had before. you will experience fruit that you could not bear with having that in your hand. I'm proud of you. I love you. There's nothing or anyone that would ever hold me back from coming after you. I want you to choose me. I want you to say yes to me. And so HSM, if you're in here tonight, if you've never said yes to Jesus, I'm going to provide an opportunity for you to respond, to grab Jesus with two hands tonight. Or maybe you've wandered off course with Jesus. You were following him for some time, but the idol began to distract you again. This is also an opportunity for you to come back to him and grab him with everything that you have tonight and fall in love with the person named Jesus again. And so I'm going to lead you through a prayer, and if that's you, if you want to grab Jesus again with two hands, say yes for the first time, or yes for perhaps the second time. Right now, we repeat these words after me. Jesus, I know that you love me. I know that you died on the cross for me. And right now, I'm letting go. I'm letting go of the idols in my life. And I'm grabbing you with two hands. And I say yes to you. I say yes to the life that you have for me. I say yes to your love. And I say yes to being yours. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. And amen if you said that prayer. Well, HSM, right now, if you said that prayer and you accepted Jesus into your heart for the very first time, or perhaps the second or third time, the band is going to sing, and as we begin to sing, I'm going to ask you to have boldness. Show the idol it does not have a hold on your life by being bold for Jesus. And I'm going to ask you to come and meet me right here. And we have a team, your leaders, are going to come, they're going to connect with you, hear more about your story, and give you a Bible so you do not forget the decision that you made tonight.